my dudes, welcome back to Previously Gifted. This time we are blessed with the presence of the one and only Nathan White. He's back for his second appearance on Previously Gifted, and this time we are talking veganism, baby. We have been having some very interesting discussions about veganism since Nathan met me, and we just have so many interesting questions to discuss, kind of some ethical and moral issues that aren't black and white, and I'm really excited for that. Nathan has prepared an opening statement, so I'm really excited for you guys to hear it, and here you go.
I feel like I'm at like Parliament or something.
Yes, it's very official.
I think before we start, I need to make this very clear for the people who are going to comment or something like that. I honestly think there is no argument against veganism. Veganism to me makes complete logical sense all round, but at the end of the day, if people are informed of all the facts but still think it's worth eating meat, then there isn't much else we can do. Correct?
I agree.
In my opinion, the right thing to do is to educate people at a young age the ethical and health risks when eating meat and dairy, in terms of like fashion, what you buy in fashion, what's vegan, what's not vegan, and they can be educated like that. I honestly think that there is also some grey areas in regards to a vegan lifestyle, like eating honey or palm oil, or even getting fries from Chickfila, okay? I feel like insects must experience consciousness, as well as the natural population of bees dramatically declining, and over 90% of orangutans' habitat has been destroyed in the last 20 years, and thousands of orangutans are killed each year, all because of palm oil. And they're not the only animals to suffer, by the way. Plus, why do vegan support industries offer meat products when you can make your own fries at home? Exactly, blah, blah, blah. Deforestation, a big chunk of that is down to soy and minerals. I just want to know, what's right, what's wrong, where do you draw the line?
I don't know why I'm laughing. I started smiling at one point just because, I don't know, I think it's cute listening to your statement, but then I was smiling during the part of you saying that orangutans have been killed. So just to clarify for the YouTube viewers, I do not enjoy or laugh or smile at those things. I'm laughing and smiling at Nathan. What an opening statement.
Thank you.
There's so many questions and
I needed to put that I'm fully with veganism.
Right.
I support it. I think the facts you cannot argue against. Mm-hmm. And with that, I just have my issues.
All right. That's good. Well, that's what we're here to explore. And I'm glad that you are open-minded, and you've been pretty open-minded in our discussion of this. Before I get started, though, I've got to give a shout-out to my number one supporters, my patron babes. So if you guys are interested in supporting the podcast, which includes some social media shouts out here on the show. I will probably follow you on Instagram or Twitter or whatever you want. I also have bonus episodes of the podcast that are available only on Patreon. So if you are really a number one fan of this podcast and you want to make it more possible for me to continue doing this, you can go to patreon.com/previouslygifted. And as always, we are going to give a shout out to our official podcast sponsors. So here is my list. We've got Eric Courtwright, we've got Joni K, Lily Dillon, we've got Matt Barham. I forgot to shout out his Instagram. It's Mayweather. Mayweather. So now you know. Go hit him with a follow. He said he has dank memes and like a cool insect photo on there, so check it out. We've got Jerome at GGRZZLY. I have to spell it every time. Grizzly. And then Liz Walsh at LizW206. You guys are the truest homies, and I say it every time because that's what you get when you're a podcast sponsor. I appreciate it a lot. So, we can get into all these questions, Nathan. You have so many, I don't even know exactly where to begin. I've made some notes, and today we're kind of going to be covering social questions in terms of veganism and, the impact on, one person socially, but also how we interact with other people. And then maybe in future episodes, we will discuss other issues. I've got nutrition questions, personal eating habits, more ethical and moral questions, and then other health questions. So I'm going to try to organize them so that they all make sense. But this episode is going to be mostly social questions, because I think that's a good place to start. I've got my list, Nathan. Do you want to go off my list and then we'll kind of figure it out?
And these are with my notes as well?
Yeah, they're from your questions.
Okay.
Nathan's so great. He, first of all, in preparation of this, he was like, I need time to research. I don't want to come out here like uninformed, which I appreciate. So he's going to ask me questions that we've talked about kind of in our regular conversations, but we're just going to rehash them and bring other issues to light.
So, sorry, can I take one more look?
Yeah.
I just want to know what the best question is to go off. Okay, this is a great question. And this is to you personally.
You can speak up but face the mic.
What do you want as a vegan? And what do you think is realistic?
Mm-hmm. As a vegan, as someone who has been vegan for over 2.5 years, I can say that my personal mission as a vegan has changed a lot over the years. Initially, I don't know, I went through like a very, very passionate phase to where I was kind of more of like that typical like angry vegan. But it was just because I was so convinced that veganism is the best thing for most people, and it's definitely the best thing for, you know, animals in most circumstances and the environment in general. But I've kind of transitioned since then to be less dramatic and less angry. So now my current kind of wish is that the most people possible will be as vegan or vegan friendly as they can. So that basically applies to people in like developed nations, obviously. I'm not going to ask people who are in like underdeveloped countries to go vegan, because that's just a lot less possible for them. Also, of course, even in places like the United States, there are food deserts in like urban areas that make it very difficult for people to get fresh produce and have access to other kinds of foods. So I get that there's, you know, there are limits to some people's access to veganism. But I will say, especially as somebody, you know, in the United States, from what I've seen, if you have access to do your grocery shopping at a, you know, regular store, you've got access to fruits and vegetables, you've got access, and you can afford, you know, a regular weekly grocery bill, you can access veganism, basically. That's my argument. So I think my mission would be like just to educate as many people as possible and get them to at least start to minimize their animal product consumption.
So realistically, what does the world look like in 50 years' time, where if everyone goes... Do you think in 50 years' time you can see a world where everyone's vegan?
Can you move a little bit more to the center? And yeah, there you go. Sorry, we're working on this bi-directional microphone thing, so I just want to make sure the sound works well. And it may sound different in your ears or mine.
See you as well.
Yeah, you can't look at me. Just look at the pop filter and the microphone, or look at the camera. We could talk to each other like this. Okay. What was your question? How do I see the world?
So realistically, how do you see the world for developed nations like United States, United Kingdom?
Right. Okay. I mean, ideally, it would be like mainly vegan.
But realistically,
I would say, I mean, I still feel like a mostly vegan, or at least like half vegan world in a developed nation like the United States is possible in the future. I think that animal products will remain in the marketplace. You know, people will still be eating them. There are people who still will want to eat them no matter what you tell them about, you know, ethical issues, the environment, and every other issue.
I think also religion plays a part in this as well, because I believe the Bible endorses eating meat. So especially a nation like the United States, that'd be a very difficult thing to try and convert people.
Maybe. Yeah, let me keep that for later, because that's a big question, but it is interesting. But anyway, I would say that in the future, it would be great if animal products were seen as luxury items, or perhaps for special occasions. Because currently, like, the standard American diet consists of big servings of meat and lots of dairy, lots of eggs in almost every meal. So I could see people who are like, okay, like, I don't know, holiday ham or like turkey, like those are special holiday meals, or my family has this really treasured recipe for this. Like, I get that for a lot of people, veganism 100% isn't attainable, but I think it would be great to see vegan options so widespread that, like, in fast food and grocery stores, you could go there and have, like, plenty of options, no matter what way you're eating.
Yeah. I just personally find this a bigger challenge than, you know, what you see it as.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
just from recently, grocery shopping and things like that. Recently, for the past... I would say for the past 3 years now. So I've got a lot more healthier in my diets and things like that. And looking at my shopping list and the things I'm buying, especially now, you know, as we're both living together, the shopping we get, it is a lot more expensive. But also, I look on, you know, all the things that I have access to at the grocery store, and everything nearly has eggs, milk in it, and I just find it very difficult to try and pick up groceries, a vegan diet, if that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, the issue of, like, expense. I want to do a video on this on Tiffany Ferg pretty soon to compare directly, like, a vegan version of a meal and a non-vegan version. Because I think, honestly, that a vegan diet is not inherently more expensive. Of course, it depends on how you eat. Whether you're eating more, like, fresh foods or if you're eating more processed foods, how many, like, vegan substitute kind of specialty or luxury items you're eating. Because we do tend to eat a lot of those. We'll get, like, Gardein products, or we'll get, like,
I find
beefless beef.
Yeah, which is good. I find it very... I find it's a very, very difficult ask for families who, like, people who, let's say, work in New York City, don't get home till, like, 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And, you know, these convenient meals that you see in the frozen aisle, or the lasagnas that are already made up, and, you know, the pre-made meals, which aren't vegan. I just feel like maybe you can put it down to laziness or something like that, but I just don't feel like families will go down that
right. It's not that practical for a family.
I think as well, like, I'm sure we'll probably talk about this later, is you have to be a lot more adventurous with your cooking being a vegan.
Right. Can I cut you off because I have to pause my camera? We're going to take a little break and then we'll get back to that question. Okay. And we're back. So quickly, before we get back onto our track that we wrote on our little notepad, your question about basically the affordability but also convenience of providing vegan food for a family. And that definitely is a good question, because it's not just about vegan foods. A lot of families ask the same question: how can I find more convenient and affordable, like, healthy food options in general? Because that's an issue for everybody, especially if you're a busy working parent, and then, you know, you get home and you don't want to spend too much time cooking. You want to spend time with your family, or, you know. What would you say for, like, not veganism related, but just, like, for healthy eating? Like, how can families find that to be more convenient? Or is it even possible?
Is it possible? Yeah, because in their eyes, things like these meals for, you know, lasagna, or these, like, ready-made meals that have already been made, they're not unhealthy like a cheeseburger. So, like, in their eye, I don't think you really can compare it, because in their eyes, meat is a good thing, if that makes sense.
Right. That's true.
Meat is the protein.
Yeah.
So they believe they're giving their kids a good thing, so I don't think you can kind of make that comparison.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, as a vegan, I cringe when I see, like, healthy things that are like advertised for families or just
and
people in general.
And you also see these like weight loss, like ready meals,
right.
like, things like that. I'm not just talking like frozen meals here. I'm also talking about refrigerated meals that you see, like pre-made meals.
Right.
They're everywhere. You go to Stop and Shop, 50% of the shops like full of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say, I think, especially in the States, it's a challenge for every family to make healthy meals and have that not be such a time-consuming thing. I mean, there are so many different, I guess, options or things that people suggest as strategies. Like, you know, if you really start to, like, meal plan or plan ahead, you can cut some time off of food prep kind of stuff. But it's, like, it really boils down to, like, I don't know, I guess in terms of like healthy versus unhealthy food too, like if you want healthier foods, there are only so many shortcuts you can take.
Yeah.
Like there are not like instant no prep required meals that are going to be like the most healthy for you. Things are going to require you to cut things or, you know, prepare them in different ways.
Sure.
But I do feel like it is possible to make more simple meals that maybe take like less than 30 minutes.
Exactly, like macaroni cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Where's a vegan macaroni cheese? Like,
they exist, but they're not that good. We need better vegan mac and cheese.
The one that by Chloe's is nice and it's good.
Yeah,
so
but like,
I'm just saying
box,
there's no options.
A box of mac and cheese.
Yeah, there's no options like that. Like, there's no sort of ready meals like that.
No, there's like, I mean, there's like Daya. There's a few. Again, it's limited in the grocery store, so that's like, that's the issue.
And then the pizza.
The pizza's so sad and expensive.
That
is expensive.
$10 for a pizza.
Yes, we go to Stop and Shop, and the Daya vegan pizza is $10. Yeah. And like other, you know, frozen pizzas can be like $5, $6, $7. But the Daya one, first of all, doesn't taste great, and also it's just not worth it. We would rather go to Blaze, sponsor me Blaze, and get, you know, you can get your own personal vegan pizza for like $8 or $9.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other question. But
let me go into another question.
Yes.
Here. I mentioned this in my opening statement.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about supporting non-vegan industries like Chickfila, which is pretty obvious?
Not vegan.
Not vegan, and everywhere you go is on the menu chicken. Mm-hmm. Yeah, chicken salads, etc., etc.
Right.
If you, as a vegan, walk in there and buy fries and a soda, and you sit down, you are supporting that industry. You're supporting that company. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? Yeah.
It's tough because as a vegan and just in general, it's good to remind yourself like that you're voting with your dollar, and the things that you buy, you're, you know, supporting those industries financially. So that's the struggle because, I mean, where we are, there are no like vegan or vegetarian specialty like restaurants. There's one, but it's not worth going to. So it's like, if I want to eat out anywhere, if we're out and about and we want to grab some fries, like, there are no exclusively vegan options. So, I mean, I think, you know, 99% of vegans find themselves in that kind of situation, unless you're in a place like Brooklyn or, you know, New York, LA, where you can find dedicated vegan restaurants more often.
Shouts out Vinny Pizza.
Shouts out Vinny's Pizza. It's not all vegan, but there are options.
There are options.
It's tricky because it's like, I don't want to give my money. I don't want to give my money to Chick-fil-A for multiple reasons. You know, they're like anti-gay funding and stuff. There's a lot of problematic issues, but it's like, I feel like to an extent, like there's only so much I can do when I don't have other options, which is, I guess, kind of like a lazy cop-out answer. But I think at places where they have a few more veggie options and you're voting with your dollar there to show them your support in the veggie options, I feel like that's better. Say, like, if Chipotle saw, like, a huge increase in their, like, sofritas or meatless bowls and burritos, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna get any other veggie options, but at least, like, it shows them that percentage of their customers wants meatless options, you know? So
it's nice to see McDonald's introducing a new vegan burger. Mm-hmm. It's not out in the United States yet, but it will be.
Isn't it only testing in, like, one country?
Switzerland. Is it Switzerland or
something like that?
Sweden?
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see because, you know, do I want to necessarily support McDonald's? No. But if I need a veggie option and it's somewhere like McDonald's that's so widespread and so accessible, that's a good thing. So yeah, I'm basically on the side where it's like, this is the world that we live in now. We don't have that many options, but the more that we support vegan options in non-vegan places, the more options that hopefully they will introduce in the future, and the more vegan restaurants will see that there's, a market for that, and hopefully those will open up as well.
Okay. Complete shift. Mm-hmm. Next question. Why do vegans have such a bad rep? And to tie into that, why do they come across on social media platforms as so aggressive?
Mm-hmm. This is an issue.
And this is not coming from me. This is coming from many people I've spoken to, many people I talk to. Mm-hmm. And you also believe that some people do come across very aggressive. And maybe you can explain why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely such a tired kind of stereotype, especially online, for vegans to be aggressive or annoying, or there's like so many anti-vegan memes and videos and things, or like if I just see a vegan relevant video on Facebook, like, oh, this vegan product is now offered wherever, all of the comments will be angry meat eaters who are like, all these vegans trying to shove this down our throats. So it's like, it's a very weird conflict, because like a lot of meat eaters, non-vegans, whatever, they have this very emotional reaction to vegans or vegan content. Like sometimes it's like completely uncalled for. Like I don't know. It's just really weird.
You see it a lot on comedy.
Yeah.
I swear every comedy show I've seen these last 2 years. Every comedy
special that we watch, somebody makes a little vegan jab. And I'm like, is this funny to anyone? Like, who is still laughing at these vegan jokes?
And also, I had a conversation yesterday with someone who we went shopping with, and mentioned that you were vegan, and she completely eye rolled at the word,
which is funny because she's currently eating vegetarian.
No, she's vegetarian. Yeah, but she still eye rolled at
I know.
the word. So it's just a funny. Just a thought,
right?
I thought, because it's what happens. It's fact, and it's just, I don't know what it is.
It's interesting. I wonder why people roll their eyes or make fun of vegans, but I don't really hear that about vegetarians.
No.
But the joke is like, oh, like, how do you know somebody's vegan? They'll tell you. Like, okay, whatever. Vegans do have to mention how they eat, because I mean, if I go to a restaurant, I want to avoid saying that I'm vegan. I don't walk in the doors going, I am vegan, what are my options? But sometimes you have to, because like even at that hibachi place we went to, they're like, oh, like I would see white rice and be like, okay, that's fine, and they go, no, we cook it in butter. So sometimes it's like you absolutely have to mention it just to make sure that you're not gonna eat the wrong thing. But online, I feel like, so there's either the undeserving criticism of vegans, which is literally just meat eaters like, I love my bacon and nobody's gonna take that away from me, you guys can enjoy your lettuce, and it's like, okay. And then there's the deserving kind of hatred against vegans, and I think that definitely comes from those especially angry or like aggressive vegans. Nathan's been watching a lot of those, what are they called, like vegan versus whoever,
Cambridge student, or vegan versus this student, where obviously they've pulled someone off the street who is not prepared for this interview at all.
Who's going to be less knowledgeable about these questions.
And you can see that the vegan is lining up questions
to set them up for
a thing, which I personally think is great, but when you aggressively say it, I think it's wrong, and it just gives off a bad image. It's like a pushy car salesman.
Right.
And I just don't see
the benefit of those kind of videos.
Resolution where you're talking about those angry people versus how do you educate them? How do you convert them?
Right.
I just feel there's a better solution.
I don't know. I'm conflicted about those kind of videos because they definitely get clicks. They get views from vegans and non-vegans.
And they're right. I will add, they are right.
A lot of the time they are mostly telling facts, the vegans. Sometimes they either spread like misinformation or myths, which I'm not a fan of. I think even like pro-vegan myths are obviously not good because I want the most truth and factual information to be spread. But anyway, I mean, they come in and they'll say, you've got a pet dog, like, and then they'll show them a little picture of a piglet, and they'll go, isn't this piglet cute? Yeah, it is. What do you think's the difference between, like, your dog and this pig's intelligence or their emotional, you know, capacity, or, you know, what's really the difference between your pet and any of these other animals? And sometimes, people get kind of forced to admit, like, it's just that those have been domesticated for agriculture and these we've domesticated to be our pets. Like, you know, so you get people a lot of times to admit that certain elements of veganism are more morally correct, which I think is a good thing. But I don't think people like to be backed into that corner, and it makes people really defensive because they always get this, like, why do vegans think that they're better than everyone?
Yeah.
Like, vegans are always out here, like, saying what everybody else is doing wrong, and they think that they're morally, like, perfect. It's like, no, I don't think so. But it's like, I feel like in issues like animal rights or animal ethics, it's like, it's like, is it wrong to kill an animal? If you agree, yes, it's wrong, but you'll continue supporting those industries, you're being unethical. But people don't want to make that connection. They'll agree with one part, or they'll agree with the second part, but they won't agree that it, like, is connected, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So, I don't know. Those videos they're interesting because...
But it's the same. I think it would be the same as if you were to say every time you get into your car, and you got the polar icebergs, or the
ice caps.
Ice caps melting,
Icebergs.
you're killing polar bears and things like that. As a vegan, you'd find that very difficult to accept as well, and I don't think you'd make that connection either.
Right.
So it's a similar sort of thing.
Can I pause this and then we will resume? One moment.
Polar ice caps. I cannot believe I had a
iceberg
mind fart.
No, iceberg is the same.
Yeah, but I needed caps.
Ice caps, right. And we're back. Okay, before I forget that question that you just asked. Right. That's a thing that vegans experience too, is like, oh, you think you're such a good person for, like, saving some animals or saving, you know, some resources by going vegan, but what about all the other things that you do that damage the environment or may indirectly harm animals? And, you know, a vegan, just like anyone else, cannot say that they're perfect.
No, but my point was, if I was to tell you were doing something wrong, as well as these vegans telling the meat eaters they're doing something wrong, you're immediately not going to make that connection because you'll feel bad, or you don't want to admit you're doing wrong, and that is exactly what is happening.
I feel like, personally, I would admit to it because, I mean, I'm at a point where I'm just trying to improve, for example, like, my carbon footprint or my impact. So I have to admit, like, yes, I use single-use plastic straws. That's something I definitely should not be doing, and I'm trying to work on not using it, not trying hard enough. But, yeah, if you say, like, me flying often is bad for my carbon footprint, or me, you know, driving instead of riding a bike, like, I would 100% agree with you. Using
plastic toothpicks.
Oh, my flossers. I'm like, okay, guilty. My response to that always is like, yes, those are totally valid impacts of, you know, my choices, and I want to work to lessen those impacts. But I feel like in terms of food and other lifestyle choices, food is 100% like the biggest impact that you can make. I think the easiest. Yeah. Everybody can lessen their impact by a lot, use a lot less water and other resources if they change their diet, rather than, like, how do you not use a car? Because for a lot of people, like, transportation is something that's not as flexible or easily changeable as their diet.
It's just going back to my original opening statement, which I'm very happy I made, is where do you draw the line? And how picky do you get? And there's always going to be an argument countering another argument, and it's just back and forth.
Right.
But yes, so just going back to the question,
where do you draw the line?
No. Why are vegans seen as so aggressive?
That's tough. Now I've got the, like, where do you draw the line question in my head. Why are vegans seen as so tough? It's like, I mean, it all comes out of a passion, because, again, I've been very aggressive, like, online and kind of in person about issues related to veganism. I feel like vegans are tough on people because, first of all, most of us, we know what it's like to be a non-vegan, you know? Like, I lived my entire life up until 2.5 years ago, eating lots of animal products all the time, and I literally never would have thought that I could go vegan, and then I did after I was educated about it. So I think the thing that makes me most angry is when people either refuse to learn about it, they just, like, you know, they don't want to watch things, they don't want to hear about the truth of, like, animal agriculture. So yeah, I don't like when people willfully, like, ignore that information. And then there are people who do hear about that information and still choose to not change their diet. So when somebody says, no, I'm going to continue eating meat because I love bacon or I love the taste of whatever, that's what makes me angry, because I think that it is a selfish decision, because you're choosing your personal taste preference over, choosing a more ethical kind of diet. So it's like, you know, I'm not saying that vegans are not selfish. You know, vegans can be selfish in a lot of other ways. And there's a big spectrum of, like, I don't know, how vegan are you, you know? Because even within the vegan community, people will call other people out, which I think is problematic, for doing little things, or maybe for slipping up, or, you know, there's, like, all of this conflict in the vegan community, and some people try to establish themselves as, like, the ideal perfect vegan who has the minimal impact. Or, you know, they're the most ethical. It's like, I really just think everyone needs to be more compassionate, be more understanding. I want to give people, you know, the opportunity to learn and to figure out these issues on their own, you know? Because I know that most people will not go vegan overnight, and they especially will not go vegan if you are aggressive with them and don't, you know, give them a chance.
Yeah.
But I do think for the people to where it's, like, possible for them to go vegan or move in that direction at least, I think people need to do that. Otherwise, I will see you as some level of an asshole. If you truly are like, I don't give a fuck about the animals, I don't care about the environment, like, I've heard people say that, like, firsthand. They're just like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna be dead, like, it's not gonna be my planet. Yeah. I will think you're an asshole for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't want to preach anything as if I'm perfect. I'm just saying, hey, why don't you make a couple of changes and you can make a positive impact.
Yeah, so just to cut in quickly, I just think, last week when my parents came, we went to a vegan restaurant with my dad, and we gave him the Italian meatball sandwich. I gave it to my dad. I let him try it. He thought it was amazing. The next day we went for a vegan breakfast, which he enjoyed as well. And my mum eats vegetarian anyway, so, like, it didn't really, amaze her, if you like. And I just find for people like that, especially the older generation, they are harder to convince, because they will always use the argument, well, my dad's lived till he's 80 years old, and he's been eating meat and drinking wine and smoking for, for all his life, and his dad's dad did the same thing, la 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 la. Why has it all changed, and things like that? So I just think there's a better way of educating people. I feel like with my dad, he's someone that's gonna eat meat probably for the rest of his life. But by giving him what we did last week, and then educating him on the things that meats and dairies and eggs do to you, and fish do to you,
right?
I feel like that's a better way of going around it, especially for people of that age. Yeah,
I definitely agree.
So anyway, let's just go away, unless you want to add anything.
Yeah, I want to say, like, I mean, I would say for most people, first you have to show them the benefits and the really good side of veganism in terms of, like, look at all these delicious food options, because that's I think the thing that immediately turns people off is they're like, no, I love all these other foods, why would I eat shitty vegan substitutes. So I think, yeah, when you show them, you know, substitutes or vegan restaurants that are really impressive, they go, oh, that is cool. Maybe I won't go vegan, but I would consider eating at this place again. Sure. I may consider eating different types of foods.
Or they may eat meat once a meal, you know,
right.
out of 3 meals a day.
Right, yeah. And then I think, especially for the older generation, I don't know, like for people who have concerns with their weight or their heart health,
yeah.
when you know, tell them the information about how unhealthy meat and, you know, animal products in general can be, especially when it comes to cholesterol, saturated fats, even like increased cancer risks. Yeah. I think a lot of people are willing to make changes when they realize that it's like a dire consequence.
Sure. But I would also say on that as well, is when people hear those sort of things, they always come back with a response of what doesn't kill you.
Right. I know. I'm like, that's a tough question. I'm like, all right, being vegan won't make you live forever, but I mean, I don't know. I would rather, okay, if I could live 80 years, either way, 80 years vegan or 80 years not vegan. Some people are like, well, fuck it. I'm going to live as long as I'm going to live. I want to eat all the food I want to eat and not worry about it. If I were living 80 years vegan, I feel like I would be at a healthier point longer than if I were 80 years eating whatever I wanted that wasn't vegan. Because, you know, a lot of people end up getting really serious health problems earlier and earlier. You know, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And then you may live the same amount of time, but your quality of life will be so much lower if you're so much unhealthier.
Sure.
And that's, you know, based on a lot of lifestyle choices. But I definitely believe that diet is a very significant one.
How do you deal with social pressures?
Currently, I feel like, I mean, no, I still have some social pressures. I mean, in situations like, I mean, in recent months, whenever I've been with your family, it does make going out with non-vegans difficult. Mm-hmm. Even in a situation that I think is going to be simple, even if I do research beforehand. Oh my God. When his parents were in town, his dad kept saying, I want a big American burger. I was like, okay, we'll go out and we'll have burgers one night. I just need to find a place that has vegan options. So I take us to this place. I forgot what it's called. But it's like this big, cool burger place with like a really nice atmosphere and nice drinks. So I give us a reservation for that. We show up. And on the menu, I looked at it online, as I always do. That's one inconvenience. I have to be like Googling, you know, vegan options and menus all the time. They had an Impossible Burger on the menu, and that is one of the most well-known like vegan meat substitute burgers.
Yep. That's
supposed to taste the most like meat, and you know. So they have this Impossible Burger on the menu. So I'm like, hell yeah, we're going there. They've got a lot of other burgers, obviously non-vegan options, and we all should be able to find something that we like. We fucking get there. We sit down, and I start to order it, because they had, it said, like, the Impossible Burger on a, yeah, it was, like, the plant-based burger made by people who love meat, whatever. Mm-hmm. It was, like, an Impossible Burger with blah, 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 cheese and stuff, and a wheat bun. So I asked the server, I was like, could I get that on another type of bun, or, like, what other kinds of buns do you have? He's like, oh, I don't know. I asked, like, egg-free buns, or vegan buns, and he said, all of our buns have egg. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, then never mind. I'll just get the wheat one. He's like, no, the wheat one has egg, too. I was like, all of your fucking buns have egg in it? I was so upset. Because, like, most bread does not have egg in it. Most bread products are vegan unless they're, like, specifically more eggy or, you know. So I'm used to pretty much being able to, like, not having bread products be an issue. So I was like, oh, fuck. Can I get it, like, lettuce wrapped? And he's like, oh, we only have, like, loose lettuce. So we could put the burger on a bed of lettuce. Or we can put the burger in a salad. And I was like, so great. I'm about to eat lettuce and this Impossible Burger. It was really frustrating because, yeah, in that moment, it's like, I brought us to this restaurant. Now I feel uncomfortable and I get really stressed when, like, I suddenly, like, can't eat anything on the menu because there were no other options other than plain salads. Yeah. And then in the salad, I have to take out, like, any cheese or meat, or the dressing's probably based in dairy, and it's fuck. When everyone's just trying to go out to dinner, which should be, like, a casual, simple, enjoyable thing, that's the one thing that I struggle with still, is, like, me either being like, no, it's fine, I'll eat just fries, or making the whole group have to go to another place.
Which I think now is fine, especially
with your
my family.
Yeah.
So yeah, social pressures. Anything else?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Because, like, if it's just me, or if I'm with vegan friends, or I don't know, like, I feel like as long as I can find vegan options, I'm fine. Because I don't necessarily want to take all my friends who aren't vegan to vegan places. I'm not gonna demand that we all eat all vegan when they're with me. But, like, yeah, just socially, it's like, I wish that eating out wasn't such an issue and didn't require so much thought.
So with that in mind, this leads me nicely to my next question. First of all, I want to state how my diet is. I'm not completely vegan, but I will say every evening meal and every weekend meal, I'm vegan.
At home. You're pretty much 100% vegan.
100% vegan.
Yeah.
I find it very difficult in the mornings. I basically go to work and I have breakfast in the mornings, and I don't have a vegan breakfast, whether that's with bread and eggs.
Right. His breakfast is served at work.
Yeah, so it's not like I can make my own decisions on breakfast. Well, I could bring in my own lunch, blah, 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 and then I could bring in my own breakfast. But to me, I have to at some point weigh my happiness to, my diet and things like that. And I just find it a lot more easier for me to go into work, have that, and then for lunch I'll just have a salad.
Yeah.
So, and I don't eat meat. So I need to say that.
Can we pause this for a second?
Yeah.
Camera's gonna stop. 1 second, please. All right, sorry about that. We're back, and Nathan is still explaining.
Yeah, I will also. I do not eat meat, and I also have fish as a treat. So if we go out with my parents, sometimes I'll eat fish. Mm-hmm. And I just believe. I know you'll argue with me until the end of time about what fish does to me, but I don't think it's as bad as what meats are. Mm-hmm. And with that leads me to the next question of raising vegan kids. Now, you are not pregnant and we are not planning kids, but if there ever were a time in 2, 3, 5, 10 years time, hopefully not 10 years because that's quite a scary thought, there may be kids. Okay, so will you be raising your kids vegan? Now, bear in mind, I will argue with the social pressures in life. You will argue with the health things in life. As a kid, I can remember my dad chopping us pieces of chocolate as a treat on a Saturday night whilst we were watching a meal.
Watching a meal? You're crazy.
Whilst we were watching a film, and I used to love it. He always used to be like, and it'd be like 3 chocolate bars. He'd chop them up, and then at one point in the film, he'd say, "You can have a piece of chocolate," and us 3 kids would run to the plate, pick up a bit of chocolate, run back, and we'd have the chocolate. And it still sticks out in my head, and it's just one of my, just there in my head, and the desserts that we used to have, and things like that, and the treats, etc., etc. I don't like the idea of my kid being in a social situation where he or she has to, they're out in town and they want to go to McDonald's. Well, there'll be a vegan burger there, but let's, a place that's not vegan.
Sure. And
they want to eat out there, like a KFC or Chickfila. I don't like the idea that he or she is going to be singled out because of their diet. Now, I don't support that they should eat meat, but then there's a certain issue of, like, is it right that we're not giving them a choice? It's the same, I suppose you could say, with religion as well. Right. Okay.
I'm going to jump in before you get too deep, to address all of the issues that you just raised. First of all,
can I also mention, we have had arguments about this
we've talked about it for like hours before, and it starts off like lighthearted and then it gets very serious because I just won't back down. So clearly I want to have vegan kids because I intend to stay vegan for the rest of my life, and I believe that it is the most healthy, the most ethical, the most environmentally friendly diet when done correctly. So I believe that it's definitely possible to raise healthy, normal vegan kids. But yeah, there have been a lot of issues raised in like how that can affect them socially or physically. Oh man, there's so many issues. I think about when I see kids, like small kids, babies, anybody, eating such unhealthy foods, pretty much how I was raised. Like, I used to eat so much fast food, and both of my brothers, you know, got really overweight from eating so badly. And, you know, the only reason that I wasn't overweight when I was a kid was because I had a fast enough metabolism to, like, battle the food that I was eating. I wish I was raised in a healthier way. I wish I had found out about veganism and that it were possible for me to go vegan earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't possible for me until I was basically buying my own groceries and, like, eating my own food.
Sure.
So anyway.
So you had the choice as you got older.
Right. Once I had the choice, I wanted to make that decision.
Uh-huh.
I feel like, though, just because I see the future in such a more vegan-friendly way. I mean, I assume that it'll only get easier to eat vegan or to find vegan foods in the future.
Sure.
So by the time my kids are growing up, I feel like that will be a lot more common and a lot more accepted and not such a socially stigmatizing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard because as a kid, anything that makes you different can make you like a target of like bullying or I don't know, it's like sometimes kids just want to do exactly what their friends are doing.
I think if you at that young age and you cut meat and dairy out your diet completely, or they don't have those meats in their diet at all.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that scares me is they try something with dairy in it and they have some allergic reaction,
right?
Or they have something with meat in it. Or something like that. I don't know what the consequences are if you are a vegan and you've been a vegan for so long, but I know from my old housemate, and you've told me yourself, if you were to have meat now, you'd be very, very sick.
Mm-hmm.
It scares me. It does, especially when they're off at school.
Yeah.
Or, and I suppose any parent with a kid with any sort of allergy, it scares them as well.
Yeah, I think that's an issue that's probably like the most difficult for me to argue with because I follow this mom on Instagram called Mama's Gone City or something. She has a bunch of cute kids, and she does these like sponsored posts for this company that has like little allergy introduction things. Like just this little mix that helps introduce your babies to like every possible food so that it minimizes their risk of being severely allergic to things later on. Because I definitely don't want any of my children to develop any serious allergies that make it, or any allergies at all, that make it really dangerous to just eat in like a casual way. Mm-hmm. So it is tricky because I don't want to feed them animal products because I believe that they're unhealthy, and just ethically I don't want to do that. So I feel like I would be okay with giving them a kind of supplement thing similar to that, to where like they're not necessarily eating like a full serving of like meat or dairy, but they will slowly be introduced to that so that their bodies wouldn't have that big of a shock if they were to eat it. Because as we all know, like as vegans, having like accidentally eating something, or you know, something is an ingredient and you don't realize it, whatever, that happens often, and sometimes you have no idea until you've already eaten half of it. So yeah, I don't want that to be like a dangerous issue for my kids. The thing is though, it's like, it's tough because with dairy, it's like the majority of people are actually lactose intolerant, but like we just like resist it as a society, basically. So it's like,
there's a statistic about people in Africa and
yeah, I'm not going to be able to explain this well, but basically it's like, oh, my camera's dying. I think I'm going to let it die and then we'll just keep going. So on the video, you guys will stop seeing us soon, but it's fine. So I'm not going to explain this well, but basically it's like when we're babies, we have, what is it, lactase maybe? That helps us digest breast milk. But then after we stop breastfeeding, we don't have that it's not a protein. I don't know. We don't have that anymore. So then when we continue to drink milk after that, that's what causes people to be lactose intolerant because they don't have lactase anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's generally it. So it's like, really, as humans, we're not supposed to continue, like, having milk after, you know, we're done being breastfed, especially not cow's milk, because how is that natural in any way? And then in terms of, like, health impacts of eating, like, meat, it's just, like, really, I don't know, by eating them from the time that we can chew, it's like our bodies become accustomed to it, but like we're becoming accustomed to something that's bad for us. So I don't know. I just feel like it's unnatural for people to eat a lot of the foods we eat, not just like non-vegan foods, but just like all the processed foods that we eat and things. I don't know. Fuck, I'm going off. I'm getting tired. Get me back on track.
Do you want to wrap up now?
No, I want to keep talking about vegan kids.
We can continue to talk on the next one because this isn't going to be just one episode.
I know, but I want to talk about this. What's the other issue? Yeah, okay, like choice in.
That's my argument, as I believe you should be given a choice, like in religion or anything like that. There'll be a time where educated, in the right manner, they'll be able to make a choice themselves. And there are things like drinking and drugs that they will have to make a choice on in life that's bad for you or good for you, and I just feel like they deserve that. And yeah, well, that's the tricky thing, is like I am not going to raise my kids in any kind of like religious way. No. So if they grow up and want to, you know, choose to join or follow a religion, that's up to them. The tricky thing about food is like, you know, they can choose to change their diet later on. But like you said, if it's like physically impossible for them to eat meat and dairy because they've been raised vegan, they can't make that choice. They wouldn't be able to make that choice. Yeah. And I would be very interested in the science. So if anybody has like studies about lifelong vegetarians suddenly eating I want to make the point as well. Like we say meat, like me personally, would be more toward dairy and that sort of side of things, just because of my childhood, myself. You know? Yeah. Things like candy, chocolate, and I know you get dark chocolate and things like that. I understand that, but like, I don't know. You go to a party, and there are kids, a toddler's party, and there's some cake or something there that everyone's having, but your kid's not allowed to have. Right. I just find that. I know it doesn't. A sad image. It's sad. It's sad. It's really sad. I get that because, I mean, the birthday party place that I worked at for a couple of years in high school and after, I mean, we served regular pizza, cake, all of that. And sometimes we did have kids. That's another one. Cheese with pizza, yeah. We did have kids come in either with gluten allergies or dairy allergies. So either their parents would bring in like a gluten-free pizza or a special dessert for them. So I feel like there are ways to, you know, still let the kid enjoy like eating or whatever with their friends, even though they can't eat the same foods. But I think what would be scary for me as a vegan parent with kids that are vegan is like, yeah, when they're too young to know, like, I mean, it's just like dealing with any like allergy, say like peanuts. You need to tell everybody who is around or whatever they're eating, you need to tell them they can't have peanuts. If you see them eating something with peanuts or going for it, you need to tell them. And it's hard to know that your kids, especially when they're younger, like, are going to understand that they need to ask or be careful what they're eating. So I feel like it would be the same thing. Like, how do you educate a toddler? Obviously, they're not going to know, like, or even consider asking what's in their food. Yeah. So with these sort of facts and figures on veganism and what meat and dairy does to you, why do doctors not, you know, apply any of this into when you have a newborn and what diet you should be giving your kids? Why do they not? We've got to save that for next time. That's such a big question. Yeah. Yeah. In short, I would say we should check out some plant-based news videos, some interviews by doctors that are vegan and non-vegan. My camera's dying. I think this is a good time to end it. And we got into some things. There's still more things to be said about the questions we discussed. This isn't like half the list that I've come up with. I know. Oh, this is your fair. But we do have lots of other questions and issues and topics to explore. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening.
I very much enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Nathan, did you have a good time?
I had a very good time. And I am sorry if I've come across with any sort of bad facts.
Oh, of course not.
Okay, good.
You have had perfect facts this whole time. Nah, we're just here to have discussions, and of course we're not speaking for everyone. We're just having a discussion. I just realized that I've been sitting here like slumped with my business pants on again, and that it's been in frame this whole time.
Yeah.
So that's
I've been like
great.
itching my leg as well, so that kind of looks bad.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you want to support the podcast, please go to my Patreon, and you can follow Previously Gifted on Twitter, and you can always hit me up and give me topic suggestions. But we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. Okay, thanks. I'm sweating. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Why did I do that? Okay, thanks. Bye.